What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of Kicking It with Gab and Chooch. Special guest host, Mike.
That's me. Thanks for bringing me back on. Hope our
No,
boys having a good time in LA. We're holding down the fort and happy to stand in. I'll try and do a good enough job to represent.
absolutely. We loved you the first time. The audience loved you the first time. It's one of our highest, viewed videos. So we're gonna
Oh,
keep it
sick.
going. Keep it
Nice.
going.
I should start
Um,
selling merch.
yeah, start selling merch. I don't know if you saw the last episode. We were like local legend. We can't say who it is until you watch. But yeah, we're absolutely excited to have you back.
No, I'm
We're gonna
excited.
go. Yeah, we're gonna go into our awards with Chooch's Banger of the Week, presented by Mike.
That's me.
What do you think, Mike? What do you think?
So for me, I got to give it to our West London neighbours, Fulham. Tom Kearney, his strike against West Ham. Was it
West Ham.
West Ham? I think.
Yeah,
Just a couple of touches outside the box with the left, and then just nailed it perfectly in the top corner where the keeper had no chance.
yeah.
Absolutely beautiful strike. So, and there were some good goals this week too. But for me, that was pretty sweet. I think it makes it sweeter that it was against West Ham. But yeah, no, great strike by the lad.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my notable mentions. I thought the James McAtee Sheffield goal, it's about the same spot, same looking goal, but this one had a little bit more height, a bit more touch of finesse for me. I loved that one for sure. Player of the week or star boy of the week for you? Who do you got?
Oh, I think it's tough to pick. I think again, I hate to give praise to Man City, but Bernardo Silva, uh, he played really well this week. I mean, he always obviously puts in a shift, but it's like Luton are a scrappy team and they're hard to play against, and they just eked out the win. And I think like his goal and what he brought to the team with his experience and his skill and just that next level, I think that he probably scrapes it for me this week.
Yeah, definitely. I personally, I'm gonna go with Phil Foden again. He finally got his chance to play the midfield. I mean, that's everybody's been talking about. Let's play Phil Foden in the midfield. He's Gareth Southgate was saying he's not a midfielder. Blah blah blah. Came in, put in a great shift. I think Bernardo Silva got the highest rating, but right behind him was Phil Foden. But definitely that goal. That was a beautiful goal for sure. Um, Going to I mean, shoot, it was a tough run of games for them. That was a good win for City for sure. We're gonna recap Saturday's games first. So
Yeah. So like talking as we review these games, like the things that have been standing out to me is just how competitive the league seems to be right now. Like the big teams are sometimes only just scraping results. So like we just said, City just scraped through against Luton, and Liverpool went away to Palace, who they're one of those teams that you expect someone of the caliber of Liverpool to kind of like walk all over. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but but give credit where credit's due. Um, Palace gave them a run for their money, and if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm thanking my lucky stars that we got out of there with a win. To be honest,
yeah, definitely. I mean, Palace, like I said, we said in the past and previous episodes that I feel like when they need to be good or like when we expect them to win, they just put on an absolute disaster. But when we think it's going to be an easy win for the other team, they always find a way to fight and stay in it. But yeah, I definitely thought with the 1-2 loss, I mean that was a lot closer than it should have been for Liverpool, especially being up there at the top right now.
yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely,
I mean
for
Liverpool or
sure. And
Liverpool.
like also in those cases, like you feel bad for Palace too, right? Because you just lose by a goal at home, and like they're Liverpool like top of the league. So like the fact that they went toe to toe with them and ended up on the losing side, it's tough for them. But I think they can be proud of the effort the lads put in for sure.
Yeah, definitely. My next one I got is Wolves Forest with the 1-1 draw to save the coach's job, allegedly.
Yeah, for now, 1 week at a time right now. And this is a Midlands derby. Wolverhampton and Forest, not really that far apart geographically. Um, Both teams that like back in the early days of the Premier League, like Wolves and Forest were around here and there. Like so, it's uh, it's always fun to see a Midlands derby. 1-1 is probably what you would expect from that game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's not too much I can say about Wolves Forest, to be honest, other than, they both get a point. They both need as many points as they can get. So hopefully they can both build on it and start to get some more results that go their way.
Yeah, definitely. Then we got Sheffield Brentford. Sheffield finally get another win. I mean, that came by that huge goal. I thought that was beautiful. That was the only goal of the game. Brentford, I thought this was a chance for them to steal points for sure. Again, easy opponent. I mean, it's not like they're at the bottom, but I feel like this has been all year. Same thing, kind of what I said with Palace. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like when they are expected to win, it's like, huge differential. But when they're, playing a tougher team, they find a way to win.
Yeah. And like for me,
uh,
honestly, like having watched the Premier League since it started in the early 90s, like some of the best games are the games between like two teams that you are just like you write off instantly. You're like, oh,
yeah.
whatever. It's Sheffield United against like Brentford, but some of those games are some of the most exciting. And so
Yeah.
like those 1-0s, they can really be some of the most enjoyable games to watch. Really, two scrappy teams going at it. And yeah, credit to Sheffield for pulling out a win desperately needed. 3 points right now where they are is huge. So yeah, all kudos to them.
Yeah, for sure. Next one we got is a huge shocker, probably the shocker of the week. I mean, we thought, maybe not the shocker of the week, but it was still up there. Manchester United versus Bournemouth got absolutely obliterated.
Yeah,
Man, I mean,
yeah.
shoot.
United, like over the past 5 or 6 years, like it's, and I've always hated United. Sorry to say this. I know you're wearing the jersey right there, which I'll allow just this once. But yeah, like United have always been the like the team in the Premier League, right? Like we can't deny it. They've won the most titles. They've always had that legacy, like theatre of dreams, so on and so forth. And so it has been really sad, just as a pure football fan, to see the struggles that they've been going through as a club the last few years. And Ten Hag has brought in a bunch of stability and some good players, but there's still, I don't know, man. There's still a lot of pieces to me that seem like they're not fitting into place. Like there's still talk about players being unhappy, and and then they come and get shock results like this. It just we'll get to Chelsea later because we're in a very similar boat right now. But yeah, for United fans, it's been a struggle, and you know they get some promise and they feel like they're starting to build, and then they go and lose 3-0 to Bournemouth. Like as Manchester United, that should be unacceptable. So it'll be interesting to see how they go through the rest of the season. Obviously, the winter break is known as one of the toughest stretches of the league season. So we'll see if they can kind of turn it around and start giving their fans some hope again. But all credit to Bournemouth. Like, really tough place to go. Long way to go for them. South Coast all the way up to Manchester. It's a long ride, and to come away with a 3-0 win is pretty good for them. So huge respect for Bournemouth for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Solanke has been playing insane these last couple of weeks, and he put on a show for sure. I thought man of the match for me. But yeah, I mean, Manchester United every week. I mean, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
Somehow they're still in sixth place. They're only 6 points away from Manchester City. They're 3 points away from Tottenham. I
yeah,
know Tottenham have had their struggles too, but still.
yeah.
It-
Yeah, we'll get onto that. I think Spurs played Sunday, didn't they? So we'll get onto that next
yeah,
segment. But yeah, Spurs is definitely an interesting topic coming up
yeah.
for sure.
The next one I got is Brighton Burnley, which surprisingly was a 1-1 draw. But I mean, me and Ivan talked about it last week. Me and Chooch talked about it last week. That Brighton have been stuck in a rut lately. Like they just have so many injuries throughout their team right now. I mean, it's hard to find the same starting 11. It's every week Ansu Fati's out for a significant period of time after last week. I mean, there's a lot of injuries right now. They're still managing. They're still managing. They're not far off top 5, but yeah, I mean, I thought and like you said, this is the roughest stretch of the season right here. Who can blame all the competition, scheduling,
Yeah,
and stuff like that? But yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. They play in Europe too, so they're not
yeah,
getting any rest anytime soon.
absolutely. And what doesn't help is they keep selling their players to Chelsea. So, like, you know, I
Maybe they
mean,
got the funds.
they shoot themselves in the foot. But yeah, like to your point about injuries, man, like especially with teams who aren't the like Man Cities and the Chelseas who have these giant squads and who have the money to go and get players. Like if you're working as a much smaller club and you don't have the budget to just go and sign all these players, then an injury to a key player is just devastating. And it's very difficult sometimes to recover from that. So, um, like I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Brighton. Back in the day when I used to play, Football Manager. Brighton would be one of the teams I would start managing down there. So I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for Brighton and Hove Albion, and so I hope they continue to be able to pull out results despite the challenges with their squad and injuries, etc. And yeah, we'll see how they do.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, for sure, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen with them, but I think as time goes on, I mean, they'll find their form, just like a lot of the teams struggling right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Big one. This is probably, I mean, not necessarily shocker, but the result was huge.
Oh yeah.
Arsenal versus Aston Villa.
Mhm.
Aston Villa are absolutely rolling right now.
Dude, there's what third in the league. They're what 2 points behind
They're 2
Liverpool.
points behind first. Yeah,
And
Liverpool.
they just beat. I think they beat Liverpool recently, and or was it City? But they're basically
They beat.
beaten. They've beaten two of the top three
Yeah,
clubs in the last few games,
yeah.
and like for all the criticism and judgment and hatred Emery got at Arsenal, like his move to Villa, I think, has been so amazing, not only for the club but for him, because now all the naysayers, like they can't say anything. He's taken a squad. Like how many Villa players can people like just name off the top of their heads, right? Like not too many. Like it's not a team of superstars. It's not a team that people really pay attention to. And one of my best friends growing up is a big Villa fan, so I would go up to Villa Park a couple of times a season. And so again, I've got a soft spot for Aston Villa too, and so it's really great for them and their incredibly loyal fan base to be going through this period of great success. And then talking about Arsenal, they just I don't know what it is. They can't seem to pick up results when they need them. Like they're like almost there, and then they go and they drop a game 1-0 that they're most people would say that they should have won with their talent. So yeah, I would say definitely shock of the week. But I hate Arsenal, so I'm really happy about it.
Do you think that Villa are real contenders for the title?
No, sorry, Villa fans, I don't. I think they're doing great. I think that there is a lot of hope for the future. But again, we've got a really tough period coming up. It's a long season, and I just think at the end of the day, the teams who are consistently up there and have been there before, the Uniteds, the Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, etc., they'll just have that little bit more longevity and a little bit more experience of what it takes to push through to the end of the season when you're tired and you've got injuries piling up and it's just really rough. I would like to be wrong. I would love to see someone new come in and compete, and Villa would be great. I would be so happy for them. I'm just not entirely convinced that they have it to go the whole distance just yet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right now there's a tough stretch of everything, a tough stretch of injuries, like you mentioned too. Leon Bailey played insanely well, but he did come off with a bit of a knock. I thought Moussa Diaby playing from the bench. Usually it's the other way around. Usually Diaby's starting and Leon Bailey's coming off the bench as like an insane super sub. But man, I mean, with the talent they have right now, I mean, they do well. They don't have too many big names, like you said, but they're getting the results. The system's there. Man, I mean, it was definitely electric. I was watching. I know they just beat us, but I was rooting for them for sure against Arsenal. Just because, yeah, I mean, Arsenal are our toughest competitor, I'd say right now, aside from Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, they have a good thing going. I don't think either. I mean, I think they're top 5 material, but I don't, think they're gonna win it. I think really the only people that probably really have a shot are City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. I think it's gonna go between one of them for
Yeah, I
sure.
think you're right. The one thing I will say though, before we move on, is that nobody thought Leicester City had a shot a few years ago either. Everyone was saying, "Oh, like they're finally going to start losing. They're finally going to like tire out." And that's the beauty of football. You never know. You just never know.
Yeah, that's
So yeah,
100% true.
we'll see.
Yeah, and a lot of those Leicester boys came out as some of the greatest footballers, at their
Yeah,
position for a time.
yeah. We
Mahrez was
signed a couple.
insane.
City signed a couple. Like,
Conte was insane.
hmm
Freaking Vardy, honestly, so much respect to that guy.
oh yeah,
Jamie Vardy, still sticking with the squad, even
yeah,
in division, even in the championship. I mean, he's gonna get him back. He's so old. Like, dude, he might get him back and then call it a day, But
yeah.
um, I mean, yeah, so much respect for him for
Oh,
sure. But
absolutely, absolute
it,
beast.
I wouldn't be mad if a team like Villa came up and won it. I'd much rather them win it besides a Liverpool or an Arsenal
100%.
against us. But
Yeah, like when Leicester won, I was ecstatic for them. Like back in the day when Blackburn Rovers won the league, ecstatic for them. Like you want to see different teams being able to compete and have a real opportunity to win the league. And
yeah.
unfortunately, and I say this as someone who acknowledges that Chelsea have had the resources to have been able to go up and compete and start winning league titles. And we've had advantages that some of these other clubs perhaps haven't. And so when you do see clubs like Leicester, like Aston Villa, being up there and competing, that it's as a football fan, that's really good to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since our next topic is Sunday, and the first game we have on the slate is Everton Chelsea with the 2-0 win for Everton.
Oh, mate.
I said it last week that Everton are in good form.
Yeah, they are in good form, and like the whole points deduction nonsense, I think, has really fired them up.
Yeah.
And Goodison Park is always a tough place to go for any team. The Everton fans are so passionate about their team, and they make it really difficult for opposing sides to come there and get results. Now, obviously, we know that the product Everton have put on the field the last few seasons hasn't always perhaps represented who Everton are as a club, and they've definitely struggled. But I'm not gonna lie. I knew it would be a difficult game, but I thought that we could come away with a win. But yeah, they've been on great form. The punishment stuff has definitely fired the players up, and you could see it in the game. It's like they were playing with passion and pride, and were determined to be like, you know what, like we feel like we have been cheated in a way. We feel like we've been treated unfairly, and so we need to step up and show the league that we're Everton Football Club. And all credit to them, they did that. I'm just really, I don't know if annoyed is the right word. I think frustrated about the inconsistency that Chelsea has. Like, I know it's difficult, right? The couple past years of transition, new coach, a lot of new players, still trying to figure out systems and positions and all this kind of stuff. But this is the Premier League. We all know that there's you no longer get a lot of time to prove yourself, and especially when you spent $600 million on players and you brought in one of the
Yeah.
elite coaches in the world, arguably. Like, these are the kind of results that like aren't acceptable. And I just, it seems like every time we take a step forward, we take 2 steps back. So it'll be interesting to see how Chelsea do over the next few weeks. But yeah, it's looking like just another incredibly frustrating season for Chelsea fans.
Yeah, and I think credibly, Arsenal has given Mikel Arteta time, and I really do like what Pochettino's been doing. Like, I really like his attitude towards the team. Like, I've
Yeah,
been seeing all the YouTubes, watching all the YouTubes. Like, morale is up. It seems it's kind of just it's just time. I really think that it
yeah,
really is time that will do, and I think Chelsea can be top 3 in the league with the squad they have now. It's just for sure time. Um, maybe I might get some criticism from Ivan when he watches this, or or even you. I think Thiago Silva. I think it's his time to sit on the bench a bit more. Um, I think this right now is the perfect time to start giving these young guys real playing time,
yeah,
real starting chances in big games. Because I mean, we know Thiago Silva's been there and he's done that. He can be there if you really need him to be. Like,
yeah.
a huge important player gets injured, you got someone right there to back it up. Malo Gusto was huge for
Hmm.
Chelsea when Reece James first got hurt. I mean,
Yeah,
he's been out himself as well, but still, I mean, Thiago Silva can still do that. Like Sergio Ramos has done that for
yes,
Sevilla. I mean, he could. Honestly, I just think it's time for them to give that Disasi, Badiashile, or a Colwill Disasi, whatever type of CB mix they're trying to go for. I think it's time for them to just ride it out the rest of the season. Um, I doubt Thiago Silva would be happy about that, but this is the perfect time. I mean, you're not up, you're not down. I mean, I'd go for it. And then they're also in Cuckoo. I really think the attacking, because Chelsea played good football, I
yeah.
believe. I mean, it really comes down, and it comes down like this with a lot of teams in the Premier League. To the final third, your
Mhm.
finishing is the
Yeah.
biggest, most important thing. And I feel like Chelsea, they just don't have it
We
yet.
don't
I
we don't
mean,
have it. We don't
yeah,
have
I
it.
mean,
Like, the time and time again, you're absolutely right. We have some very talented players, and we do create chances, but we just don't seem to be able to finish them.
yeah.
And if you look back throughout Chelsea's history, we have had so many strikers that we've brought in that we're like, oh, this is the guy. Like Torres, like um, we had who's the like Morata,
Okay.
like, so we've Shevchenko. So we've had a history of spending big money on these huge players that we think are going to solve our problems up front, and then it doesn't happen. And so it's really tough to see all the progress that we make and then just not have that finished product up front. And then to your point about Thiago Silva, like I actually agree with you 100% on that. Like, the guy's a living legend and he's still got gas in the tank, but like you can tell that his body is starting to feel his age and his career, and you definitely want to keep a player of that with that experience around. But yeah, I think it's time to give the younger guys a shot. Have Thiago ready to go if we need him. Have him as that leader in the dressing room and on the training pitch and on the sidelines. But yeah, I do think it is time for like a change of guard at the back for sure.
Yeah, I know. Man, I mean, I feel like there's so much to talk about, like about Chelsea. Like,
Oh yeah,
honestly,
we could have a whole episode about it, but we got
yeah.
we got
But I'm ready. I'm ready. I mean, I'm ready. They have a lot of good talent. It's gonna come together. It's gonna come together. I think they need to give Pochettino that same amount of faith that Arsenal has given Arteta. I mean,
yeah.
Arteta's
I
been there years. He's
he
been
yeah
there
he, yeah
years.
he has, and I agree. I just know historically, yes, of course, now we've got new owners in Bowley, but he doesn't seem to be any more patient than Abramovich was with managers. So I really hope that Pop gets the time, but time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then yeah, I mean, Pochettino learned from Mourinho too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like he's doesn't have it. He's got the
Oh,
tactics, he's
yeah.
got the
He's
skill, got the
absolutely.
mentorship. I really like his everything. It seems like he gets along well with the players too. So
Yeah, I
um,
mean, it's a whole different vibe from when Potter was there for sure. So hopefully he gets the time to really build something. Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see.
yeah. Let's take a look at our next one. Huge differential. This was kind of a bit of a shocker for me. I did choose Fulham to beat West Ham, but not by a 5-0 margin for
Yeah,
sure. That was quite a thrashing. Um, I've said, West Ham, they can be hot, they can be cold. I mean, you never really know what you're gonna get. Kind of like a Man United.
yeah,
They play well against good teams. They suck against poor teams or
yeah.
middle level teams. But yeah, I mean, still 5-0 in any football match. I mean, you never expect it. But
Especially in the Premier
yeah,
League, right? Like I mean, there's the elite clubs, and of course we know there are differences between, but like you would probably put Fulham and West Ham on a fairly similar-ish level, right? Like you would not expect uh, a 5-0 result out of this game. Especially with somebody like David Moyes at the helm, right? Who historically he's been a fairly solidly like his teams are fairly solid defensively. Like if you go back to his days at Preston and then even his time at United, you don't expect Moyes' teams to concede 5 goals. But again, that's the beauty of football is
yeah.
sometimes you just get great games and tons of goals, and it doesn't make sense, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I've also, been preaching. I feel like the wing play, Willian and Iwobi have been playing unreal lately. They just got a connection going on. And then Raul Jimenez, I mean, it finally seems like he's back to his old self, scoring lots of goals, scoring fantastic, beautiful goals every week so far now, these past 2 weeks. So it's good to see him back, especially after the injury, of course. He's doing well, and hopefully he continues to do that. And
Yeah.
Craven Cottage, I love watching games there. I mean,
Oh
love
yeah.
watching on TV. I mean, looks insane. Hope to visit there one day, but right on the water, can't ask
Yeah.
for a better
Right on the
scenery.
water, and like you're right on top of the pitch. It's such a cozy, intimate ground with so much history. And I know sharing we're a couple of miles away from Fulham, right? Chelsea, Fulham. So there's obviously a little bit of a rivalry there, but it's always been more like it's a friendly rivalry between neighbors rather than like, oh, we hate each other. And so like, yeah, I got time for Fulham, and I want them to stick around. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah. Next one we got is City Luton 2-1. They went down and came back from behind. I'm still a little shaky on City's performance. They're they just have to find their way back. I mean, they still dominate, of course, but their attacking play is not there still as it should be or as it has been. And De Bruyne is getting ready to come back here pretty soon. Um, he's finally, on the pitch, just doing running drills right now. So no actual football stuff yet. But in a couple of weeks, maybe by January, I expect to see him back, or at least getting some substitution work. But I think that could be a huge game changer that City need for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like, so a couple of things is there's the old saying like good teams find ways to win games, and that was definitely
Yeah.
the case here. Um, and De Bruyne he's the midfield maestro. Like he is a huge asset for them, and so when he is out, even though they've got a plethora of talent across the squad, they struggle. And so when he comes back, he's definitely going to add that extra spark. The problem now, though, is that Haaland now has an injury, and so he's going to be out for an indeterminate period of time. So now, how do they adjust to having their giant upfront target man who's banging in 20 goals a week for them, it seems. How are they going to adjust and fill that void? Where, like, yes, you got players like Silvers who can score goals, but without Haaland, the system really, really has to change in a fairly big way. And so it'll be interesting to see how Pep manages that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was definitely different playing with Julian Alvarez there. I feel like the wingers get a lot more attention than, when Holland's in there. Obviously, he's always commanding a double team. It allows Doku or Phil Foden, even Kyle Walker to, play a little bit more freely in 1v1 situations on the outside. But, it'll be huge. Holland was dealing with this same type of injury, a couple weeks back on the first original international break. But I guess it's just him just keep playing got a bit worse. I don't know. I feel like they always, like every so often, Holland's been injury prone his entire career, but in his City time, I feel like he's done quite well, and they always make it seem like a big deal, and then, he's back the next week or something like that. But, it's important that he stays healthy. I've been saying, I think this team, they're just one piece away, and that De Bruyne, the fact that they've been able to do what they've been doing without Kevin De Bruyne, who's in my eyes is one of the best Premier League midfielders of all time. I think it's stellar, and he's gonna give you a scoring aspect. He's gonna give you an assist aspect, and then the pass before the pass aspect. So he's my perfect player of the season so far for sure, because he'll come in and change the game instantly.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. We also have, this was probably one of the also most surprising ones. Spurs 4, Newcastle 1.
Yeah.
I feel like since you brought up Newcastle in that episode,
they
have been...
It's my fault. Although, to be fair, they did crush us 4-1, not too long ago. And this is the great thing about the Premier League, too, is, so Spurs beat Newcastle 4-1. Newcastle beat us 4-1. We beat Spurs 4-1. It's just, you never know what you're going to get. And
really.
It's great. So, sorry, Newcastle, that I may have jinxed you a little bit. And congrats to Spurs that I gave you a boost. But a huge win, especially with the run of results that Spurs have been having. They definitely have tailed off a little bit. So I feel like they really needed this win, not only for their own boost, but those 3 points, given that they're now 6-7 points behind Liverpool at the top. Those 3 points are absolutely crucial for them to get. So huge win for them against a tough team. And all credit to them, unfortunately. I hate to say it.
Yeah, they would be, right there with Man United at 27 points if they didn't get this huge win.
Yeah.
Newcastle would have been right behind them as well, or they actually would have jumped them. But, still, Newcastle, bit disappointing. I for sure thought they were going to be, at least competing for a top 3 spot. They're still there, though. It's still achievable. It's just they need more signings for sure in this January window. They need to make something happen.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember about Newcastle is they're in Europe for the first time in forever, and it's very difficult for inexperienced teams to be able to balance what it takes to have that extra slate of games and all that extra travel and all that extra work rate. And so I think that's what's starting to take the toll, is them having to go through all the European football stuff. That's having a huge impact on the field in the Premier League. But we'll see how they go. Hopefully they'll be able to pick it back up again.
Yeah. We'll take a look at the table real quick. We got Liverpool sitting right there up top at 37 points. They'll see Manchester United next, which could be a good one. I know United just lost, but somehow when the game matters most, sometimes they show up.
Yeah.
But against the big teams, anyways, not against the small teams.
Especially that's a huge derby, right? United, Liverpool, always been huge rivals. they'll be fired up. It'll be a good game. We'll see if they can we'll see if United can get a result out of it. But if Liverpool come away with a win, then like I think you really have to then start thinking about them as, hey, you know what? Maybe they're going to go all the way.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Definitely.
We'll see.
Arsenal, Brighton will be the next squad they face, but Arsenal sit at second with 36 points. Should be an easy win, but you never know. Brighton, with the injuries and stuff. And then you got Villa sitting there with 35, and City trailing them just 2 points behind at 33. Tottenham are in that fifth spot, and you got a couple big clubs trailing. I think this is probably gonna get real hectic here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Between that first spot for sure. The Villa, in the great form they are, they could very well take first in the stretch. But like we mentioned earlier, I don't know if they really do have. I don't think they do have what it takes. But I think this stretch of games for sure that we're in, if they can get through it up top, hats off to them. They should have every right to win it.
Yeah, for sure. Again, like we said earlier, Leicester, surprised a lot of people just by sticking with it and picking up a few results here and there. So you never know. It's going to be interesting next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at the survivors at the bottom. Even though Sheffield got the win, they're still in dead last, still sitting at 8 points, and they're going to Chelsea.
Yeah.
I'd hope that'd be a good easy win for Chelsea, but I don't know right now. You never know.
Don't jinx it, my friend. Don't jinx it. We don't need any bad juju right now.
Yeah, for sure. Burnley sit just above them with 8 points. As long as they stay, same points, Burnley have them by far on the goal differential. And then Luton sitting at 9. I think they have a chance. Them and Burnley have a chance going against Everton and Bournemouth to definitely get some points. And then obviously, if Burnley can beat Everton, that gives both them and Luton Town and Sheffield a better chance at getting out of the relegation zone.
Yeah,
because they're only 4 points ahead of Luton. But the bottom race, once it comes down to it, I think Everton will move out of there. They are definitely a more quality team right now, I'd say, and without the point deduction, they'd be above Chelsea themselves.
Yeah.
They'd be right there with with West Ham.
Yeah,
a point behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said earlier, I think that this points deduction is only going to motivate them. So, I'm pretty sure that they're going to start, crawling out of that relegation area pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. Golden Boot race still by your main man for sure. Erling Haaland with 14 still, even though he didn't get the play, didn't get with the injury. Mo Salah moves to 11th or to 11. Heung-min Son 10 and Jared Bowen 9. That's a pretty close race right there still.
It is a pretty close race, and I think it was Salah scored his 200th league goal this week. So he's always got goals in the bag, and if Haaland is going to be out for a couple of games, then that gives him a real opportunity to try and nick that top spot. So we'll see. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that is the thing. Right now that Haaland's out, you want to get as many goals as you can because once he gets De Bruyne back, you never know. Never know. He broke it in his first season. He's not gonna break it this year, barring some insane stuff happening. But he's a goal machine. He can get 3 or 4 in 1 week and call it a day. But let's. Any more thoughts on this week in the Premier League?
I think this week it threw up a lot more surprises than a lot of other weekends that we've seen in the league this year. It has been a great year. Like there's been a ton of random stuff that's happened, results we didn't expect. A lot of excitement, but I think this week was especially surprising with some of the results. Just goes to show again, it's the best league in the world, hands down.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all right. Well, then we're gonna move into the Champions League. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Champions League. This is do or die for some teams, for most teams. But we got some stuff here. I'm gonna jump right into Group A. That is Bayern's division, Bayern's group, and they are already through. But it is a do or die game for three of those clubs. Right now, you have. Give me 1 second here. Right now, you have Bayern sitting at 13 points, and then Copenhagen would take second if everything stood the same with 5 points, and they have a -1 goal differential. Galatasaray has 5 points with a -2 goal differential, and Manchester United have 4 points with a -2 goal differential. So Manchester United will have to win or draw to at least keep themselves afloat. A loss is they're done. If Galatasaray and Copenhagen draw, it's over for Man United. That one, Galatasaray would go to the Europa and Copenhagen would get the pass through. But I mean, Manchester United, this is a must-win game for them again. Against this group, they've seemed to struggle for sure. They can't put many goals past anyone. So this one, I mean, this one's huge.
It's going to be
they're
interesting.
away, I believe, too.
And it just shows how much Bayern are just dominating. Like the point difference isn't even close. But I think the one hope for United here is that with Bayern already knowing that they're through, are they going to rest players? Are United going to get a bit of a helping hand from them in terms of the squad selection?
Absolutely.
So that will be interesting to keep an eye on for sure.
Even there is a position that Manchester United win this game and can still go to Europa. And that would be, I believe, if Copenhagen or Galatasaray win while having more goals than United have had.
Yeah.
Which, if it's Galatasaray, there's still a chance that they could get edged out.
Yeah. Their ideal result is a tie in that game, and for sure,
for Manchester
and a win
United
for themselves.
For sure.
But yeah, you're right. Do or die. See how let's see.
Yeah. We'll move to Group B. Sevilla have a win or go home. If they win, they're back to their old selves in the Europa League. They have the better goal differential already, so they definitely need the win against Lens, and they're through. I mean, they win that competition seemingly every year. It feels like
right.
They want to get back to it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if they don't win, they're going home from Europe for the rest of the season.
Big game. See if their players can pull through.
Yeah, everyone else is already through. PSV and Arsenal's through already. Group C, that would be Napoli and Madrid's group with Braga and Union Berlin. Napoli need to win or draw to keep position. If they lose, it could still go down to a point differential. But that would depend on what happens with the Braga situation, how many goals they put past. They would have to put past at least 3 more goals than Napoli and still get the win to do so.
A lot of tight scenarios coming up as we finish out the group stage. And again, that's what's great about the Champions League, right? Is it's all of the best teams in Europe get to go against each other, and even some teams that you don't expect to hang on in there, you get to these last games and you're like, they actually still have a chance. So can they do it? Can they get to that next level and keep it going? So it's always super exciting to get to these last stages of the groups and see who's got it and who hasn't.
Absolutely. If not, I mean, Napoli or Braga should have a fair time in Europa if any of them or both of them make it somehow to that third spot. Union Berlin could still jump to that spot, but it's going to be tough for them for sure. They'll have to go up against Madrid, and they should get a rest against the Madrid players, especially all the injuries they have going right now. But you never know. Those teams like Madrid, teams like City, teams like Arsenal, even their reserves are fairly decent.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
uh, moving to Group D, Real Sociedad and Inter are already through. Benfica would have to beat Salzburg and by a pretty considerable goal differential. But yeah, I mean by 2 goals or more, that's what it would be to get them through. But right now, Salzburg, all they have to go for is essentially a draw. Of course, they always want to go for a win, but I mean they could still make it through. And then Sociedad and Inter are playing for the top spot. So right now it's Sociedad, so Inter would have to score by 2 goals, or they would have to win or draw. Draw wouldn't do it. But let's see. We've got Group. We're on Group D. Well, Group E. So move into Group E.
Yeah, Group E. Yeah.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid. They'll sit at first place. If they lose to Lazio, they'll lose that first place spot. So you should still see a bit of a competitive game there. Feyenoord and Celtic. I mean, if Feyenoord are through, they're through already. Nothing will change that. And Celtic are done.
Yeah.
There's nothing more they could do.
On to next year for them.
Yeah. Group F. Now this is the group of death. Nothing. Something's gonna give.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna get asked out.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is.
We've got Dortmund. Dortmund have got it wrapped up. Is it Dortmund in that group? Group F? I think it's Dortmund, right? It's Dortmund, Milan, PSG, and Newcastle.
But in terms of 1 through 4, Dortmund have the secured spot with 10 points. PSG have the next spot with 7 points.
Yeah.
Newcastle then with 5, and then Milan with 5. But Newcastle, if they can find a way to draw, I mean they can escape by goal differential. They could also take the second spot over PSG. It really is. I mean, someone's going to end up, with the short end of the stick, even if they get, fairly decent results with the draw.
Yeah.
Milan could still lose. Milan would be the ones that are asked out, but to be fair, they haven't done really well in scoring goals this season.
Yeah, they definitely should have been doing better. But I am excited for Newcastle, and I'm rooting for them. I hope that they manage to pull out of the bag and keep this European dream going. Because it's just a great story, It's just great to see them up there after so many years of difficult times. Back to the Premier League, qualify for Champions League football. So I think the least they deserve is getting out of the group. So fingers crossed for them.
Yeah, and I can't see PSG going to Europa, but I mean maybe it'd just be a weird sight to see. I feel like weird, Mbappe, Mbappe in the Europa League. That seems nuts. But I think this, like Ivan said or Chooch said before, this would be a wake up for Mbappe. I think if he's got to go play in Europa. Yeah. I mean, I think it could change his views on what's going on at PSG, but yeah, I mean, this is obviously the most insane group, and I think it's going to come down to the final whistle, and someone's going to get asked out, unfortunately.
That's the way it goes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Next, we got Group G. That is all wrapped up as well. Basically, the Red Stars will finish in 4th place. Typically, Young Boys go to Europa, and then Leipzig will finish 2nd with 9, and Man City will finish with 15. They've got 3 points. It's a 3-point differential, so the Red Stars, I believe, can, if they escape with the win of City, I believe they can do it still.
They can get to Europa? That would be nice, wouldn't
it? Yeah. They'd have to win by at least 2 goals, and Young Boys would have to not score any goals. So
I mean, it's
we'll
not
see there.
insurmountable. I've seen worse. I've seen worse odds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that way different stuff like Man United's if they lose or draw, yeah, or if they draw. But yeah, Group H, Group H, you got Barca, Porto, Shakhtar, and Antwerp. That one is wrapped up for fourth place with Antwerp having 0 points, not even securing a draw.
rough year for
Unfortunate
them.
for them.
Yeah,
uh, second place is still up for grabs. You have Porto and Shakhtar. They will play each other. So um, as long as they don't lose, they're in. Either way, I mean, you're going to stay in Europe either way somehow. So, I mean, there's worse scenarios to be in. But I think if Shakhtar can jump in, that's huge for them.
yeah,
I think Porto dropping down to Europa would be a bit of a disappointment
yeah. I
for
think so
sure.
too. And I think like the expectation for both clubs' fan bases is like Porto are expecting to go through, and Shakhtar
Yeah,
are like more realistically thinking, hey, maybe we're not going to. So if they end up
yeah,
flipping the script and getting through, then that'll be really cool, really great for the sport, really great for the event, for the Champions League. So yeah, a lot of big games this week. It's going to be super exciting. Um, while we're on the topic of this, I want to ask you here: what do you think about third place teams in the Champions League group stage automatically getting put into the Europa League?
I think it's see the thing. It kind of sucks. I think is that those Europa League teams, it kind of sucks for them because they're not necessarily expecting to play some of these teams. Like to me, the group of death. I mean, you're playing a real Champions League level team, no matter what team you're playing.
Yeah,
Um, I think it is a bit unfair, but it seems to be like every year, regardless, the those Champions League teams that come into Europa League kind of have a different advantage, like a disadvantage. It feels like maybe it's just the environment, or like you know because when they go to away stadiums, it's just different than what they're used to. It's a lot smaller. It may even be like a lot more intense atmosphere, but you never really see a Champions League team win after coming in always. But I do think like Arsenal last year, they were one of the bigger clubs. They didn't come in, but still, I mean, they got beat by a smaller team for sure last year. But I think it could be a shocker for those teams in Champions League. I do think that the Champions League third team, I like to keep it that way, but I wouldn't necessarily be, you know, like with pitchforks rioting if they
sure.
took that out.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
but I think it has its give and take. Like I really do. A lot of teams like Sevilla. I mean, Sevilla have been holding down Europa League for years,
Yeah, yeah.
and but uh, but yeah, I mean, it could go either way. I really think I don't mind it too much. Since you asked it, I mean, I assume you have some criticisms.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does seem a little bit unfair for the teams in the Europa League who get knocked out of the group stages. And then suddenly it's like, oh, but then the teams that got knocked out of the Champions League get a free pass to the knockout stages of the Europa League. So, but at the same time, it's also exciting to see some of those, as you say, bigger, more champions caliber clubs playing in the Europa League. And, I'm sure it's exciting for the fans and the teams too. And like, again, I don't have it's not like a super strong, like, oh, I'm totally against it kind of thing. I think the format's fine as it is. It just, I don't know, it's something about it just bothers me a little bit that if you aren't good enough to qualify from the group in the tournament you're in, why do you then get an opportunity to get a free pass into the knockout stages of a different tournament when there are teams who did qualify for that tournament and who could be in those places instead? It's just an interesting thing to talk about, and so I was just interested to get your viewpoint. So yeah, no, it's just something that interested me really.
Yeah, and I guess like something I guess I'd probably want to throw in is, to me, you could get a lot more of those like David Goliath versus Goliath scenarios. And I mean, I feel like that's what the Champions League kind of goes for sometimes too. It doesn't always pan out that way, but sometimes you get like a Cinderella team, and I think that them going to Europa kind of allows that too, because sometimes a lot of those clubs are a bit smaller, and to be able to even go play a game at a Camp Nou,
Yeah,
you know, um, City Etihad Stadium, a Manchester United stadium. I mean, it could be huge for the players that are playing there. It's a lifelong dream fulfilled, but
yeah, for sure.
it also can create chaos.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah.
there's a reason we're not running European football, I guess. Right?
Yeah,
We got
for
to
sure.
trust to an extent the folks that are running those tournaments are making the right decisions. But yeah, just it's an interesting topic, and I think it's something that can be debated for hours with no real right answer, right or wrong answers. But that's the beauty of football, right? We all can have our opinions, and we can have a bit of a chat and a bit of banter, and that's just the beauty of the sport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I- I'd like to see one thing I've always loved, like the Champions League and what other competitions do. I'd like to see really the goal line technology and the offside technology implemented in the Premier League,
yeah,
just because it's top quality. I mean, they make the right decision every time. Um, with I get that the English referees have a federation that, you know, it's biased to me. It's its own thing. It's like one of those things that everybody like knows is past due, but they just can't. Like everyone that is involved with football
yeah,
doesn't want it to go away. So like it's
yeah,
kind of its old like traditional stuff, but I
yeah.
mean, there's
Exactly.
still room for the refs. There's still room for the referees. It's just that one decision, should be left up to a computer.
Yeah, I mean, VAR is quite frankly a mess, right? And it's still two guys in a control room watching replays. And yes, they've got use of some technology to give them angles and all this kind of stuff, but it's still two guys in a control room telling the referee what the decision should have been.
Yeah,
So, like, if all you're going to do is have someone else make the decision just because they get a chance to watch a few replays, then you why are you why are you taking it away from the officials on the field to begin with? And if
yeah. I
anything,
mean, they
for
could have a
me,
little.
VAR does not improve. It doesn't improve football. Does it? Does it make sure that some controversial decisions are correct? Yes, great, and we'd want that. But sometimes those decisions are still controversial. And part of the beauty of football in the past has been that we can go into work on Monday morning and we can talk about those controversial decisions. And now we're just talking about the controversial VAR decisions.
Yeah,
It works. So I'm all
yeah,
for bringing in World Cup style goal line technology and offside technology that actually uses computer programming to figure out what's going on. Is it a foul? Is it a goal? Like all this kind of stuff. Absolutely. But give the referees the opportunity to referee the game and then add in the technology for the very specific moments where they don't have the opportunity to perhaps see as well as they could. VAR is not the answer in my book.
yeah.
Not that I
It's
have
a
a strong
really.
opinion about it, obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. I mean, that's what I've been. I wanted to bring that up specifically, but yeah, I mean, I think it could be. It just a matter of computer technology. At the end of the day, those referees could still be there, but I mean, if you want to pay them versus paying a computer, either way, I think the call should be right. Plus, there's always bias. It doesn't matter who you
Oh
are,
yeah,
what you
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Bias exists. One of those guys could be rooting for. They could be a Manchester United fan making a decision against Manchester City or Chelsea.
yeah. I mean, you like to think that referees have enough integrity to be trusted with not allowing that to influence them. But you're right. Like, everyone has unintentional biases, and it could be like,
Right.
I don't know. Let's say a referee refereed a Man United game, and Mason Mount got all in his face, right? Maybe next time he
Yeah.
referees a United game, it's in the back of his mind that, oh, this player was unpleasant to me, and that could unconsciously influence some of his decisions. Like, we don't know. Like, there's always room for that, but I just think
Definitely.
the way that they're trying to help the game in English football is not helping it in many ways as it could.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like maybe I think it's a little bit on the fan base too. Not, I mean, it's kind of a dark side. It could be a dark side of football. Like recently in the NBA last year, there was a controversy with the referee's family posting on social media that he was a Boston Celtics fan.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he came up with a controversial call against the Los Angeles Lakers, which is their hugest rival, of all time, one of the biggest in world of sports. And he's been suspended.
Yeah.
He was basically forced into retirement. And I'm not saying, I mean, that should happen to all English football referees, because I'm sure every football English referee has a team.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not if you want to ref the sport? It's because you love the game to some extent. But I mean, just a little bit more, maybe accountability. Maybe as a federation, they come together and try to avoid those situations where maybe a huge fan of a certain club is refereeing their rival every week or so forth. But and they may very well do that already. We just don't really see it or hear about it.
I think there is. I think that's definitely a consideration. Like, mainly because they don't want to give even an impression that there's a bias, right? So
Right.
I think that the officiating governing bodies do go to lengths to make sure that their officials aren't refereeing games where that they may have a more inherent bias.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, I do agree with your point about accountability, right? A lot of all sports, all games, the officials are key in deciding the outcome of some of these games, right? By the decisions that they make on the field. And they're also only human. They're going to make mistakes from time to time. And I don't think that it is unfair for a manager or a player to voice their opinions or dissatisfaction about an official if they feel that they've made an egregious call. Now, if they make comments, say if Jurgen Klopp comes out and complains about a referee and it's over the top and it's unfair and unwarranted, great, like, fine him. But I think that coaches and players should be able to express their opinion about the officiating, as long as it's done in a professional and open manner. And I also think that, like, with huge decisions that are game changing, like, we'll take American football, for example, the Chiefs-Bills game yesterday that ended with an offensive offside penalty that meant the Chiefs had a touchdown called back. Like, okay, give the referee and officiating crew an opportunity to come out and say, this is why we made the decision, this is what happened. And if players and coaches have to have a press conference after games, then maybe officiating crews or referees should also have to go in front of the press and say, this is why I approached the game this way. This is why I made the decisions I made. I think that would be something interesting to look at. It's not going to happen, but
yeah.
In an ideal world, I would. It seems to me only fair that those responsible for running the game are held accountable for the outcome if there is controversy or decisions that perhaps were felt to be incorrect.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all I'm saying in a very long-winded way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and
I mean,
before we wrap up, by the way, I owe an apology,
yeah.
my friend, because I think I was talking about Man United earlier, and I referenced you wearing a jersey when because I forgot you were a City fan. So thank you for being kind about it and not calling it out.
Absolutely.
My bad. But if you don't kiss the badge, though, it's too far. Don't
It's
kiss
too
the
far.
badge. That's too much. My eyes couldn't take it. I just couldn't.
Yeah. That's funny. No, yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's all I have. I mean, I feel like we had a really good episode. I mean, you're always great when you're on. You're natural at it for sure. Ivan, hope he's enjoying his vacation. Hope he watches the video for sure. He
Yeah, I hope
he
so
better
too.
be. You better
And
be.
I hope I get the job back next week because I think I did pretty well. Yeah. No,
Yeah, you did.
this
You
was
did.
hella fun. Like, always a pleasure to come on. Thanks for having me come in and chat. It's as you know, one of my favorite topics. So to be able to just get in and chat with a fellow fan is always incredible. So thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. Of course. I want to thank everybody for listening. We're currently at 72 subscribers on YouTube, so we're only a couple 28 away from 100. That's
Hit
the
the
goal.
subscribe button down
Yeah, hit the
there somewhere.
subscribe button down below in the YouTube link on Spotify. Our link's posted in our profile. You can also follow Mike on Instagram. What's your @ Mike?
It's at mrstrain14. Strain is in a calf strain, STRAIN. So yeah, check me out. Be happy to have you. And share the links, share with your friends. The more people that you share with, then the more people could be invited into the beautiful world of football. So we'd be happy to have them drop by from time to time.
Yeah, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Surprisingly, a lot of our audience comes from France. Like over 60% of our viewers we've been seeing as a geographical point is from France. Bit
Oh, that's
odd.
cool.
But,
Bonjour.
yeah.
Merci.
Bonjour. For sure. But yeah, I mean, it was a great episode. We will definitely have you back at some point for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on again. Ivan thanks you. Ivan said he doesn't even want to talk about Chelsea. That's why he went on vacation.
That's all right.
No,
I've got it. I've got it, bud. Don't worry. I'll carry the pain for both of us. It's all
yeah,
good.
for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, thank you, Mike. We'll
Pleasure.
be adding you in Instagram,
That's it.
Facebook as well, and then YouTube. Will if you'd like us to, we'd post your Instagram in the chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
put it all up there. Absolutely. The more the merrier. And speaking of which, Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you, family, and to whoever celebrates whatever holiday you celebrate. Then have a great season and be merry, be kind, and watch some football.
Absolutely. To you as well. Hope everything goes good for the holidays, and that's all you got.
Nice one. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.